Alrighty, there we go. So now anybody that wanted to watch this can. Be kind of interesting if I could get this thing to update people whenever it started, but it's fine. Good. Where my email, I guess. Cannot change. It's fine. So let's put that one here. It's just a shame that they can't see this at the same time unless they're doing that. I'll have to get some software. Cool. No, don't want to do that. Okay. We'll just go ahead and work with this hand as it is. Diamond Club. And that should be fine. Oh, that's why. There we go. That's better. Okay. Good.
You can't. They put them on for the run. They keep out like damn. No, you can't put on. Cold. And they wear the coat back.
That's fine.
Put two of them things on.
So, okay, this is where I can see that. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so just bear with me here. I'm playing around with the software. So, oh wait, let's go ahead and practice here. So, okay, so everybody should be at the table if they're looking to watch this, and if not, they can go ahead and log in and find my username. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit about the bidding here. So, actually, what I should do too is see if I can hear it from this. So let's go ahead and try that just to double check this. See how loud I can talk. Let's see. That'll be fine. It's one. We won't augment everything. Shouldn't, at least. Well, actually, yeah. Why is that? Oh, well, whatever. Cool. Why is that? Cool. Why is that? That's actually really interesting. It's like delayed by a second. Huh. That's cool. And just for fun, so it should show me up on this. It should, at least. Well, no. Oh, don't click on the wrong thing. It should sync up here. Come on now. Yeah, just for fun. So it should show me up on this. It should. Oh, so you can't participate. Yeah, there we go. Okay, sweet. So. Should sync up here. Okay. So we'll just go with it. I think that will work. So that should adjust. Although, you know what, it won't show me that, will it? Because, well, no, it did. Okay, great. So I can see if I keep looking who's watching. So we're going to start with this hand, and I'll save them and email them to anybody who who wants to look at these. So let's make that'll be fine though. Let's say that he's passes, and he probably should in this hand. You know, 7 losers. There's not really a great opening that partner won't be able to take a joke about. If you open 3 clubs, you conceal your 4-card heart suit, and you have the defensive ace of diamonds. It just doesn't look like a preempt. So South opens a heart. That's pretty clear. If you play an unusual no trump, West should do this now and show both minors. If you don't, for some reason, I recommend you learn it eventually. You know, West should want to make a bid here. We have 6 losers. We have 2 good 5-card suits. Our diamond intermediates are really great. And we're not invulnerable. So this, and part is a past hand. This is one of those times where I would go ahead and jump out on a limb. And even though I only have 8 high card points, I would stick my neck out and bid 2 diamonds. This is pretty safe. The only time that this is going to be wrong is when partner bids something like 2 no trump and you get doubled, but you're going to be able to run the 3 clubs. if that does happen. So I don't see a lot of risk with this bid. And now we come to North. And North has a common evaluation problem where we have a fit for partner, but we also have a really good suit. So the question often arises, should we raise partner's suit or should we show our suit? Or should we show our suit on the way to bidding partner's suit? What I would suggest is you consider what the opponents will be bidding whenever you have a problem like this. So looking at this hand, if I bid 2 spades, the worst thing that East can do is bid 4 or 5 diamonds, and I still have a comfortable bid after 4 diamonds, and 5 diamonds is, I would say 5 diamonds is an unlikely bid by East, given that I have 3 diamonds. He won't have enough trumps to make this bid most of the time, and if he does, partner will probably pipe in with an informative bid or a pass, and that will let me know what to do. So the main reason for bidding 2 spades is you're going to get the 4 hearts and you're trying to show a source of tricks on the way. The reason that this makes sense is because if you don't do this now, you can never show it later. So, and if we just ignore the hands for a moment, let's just look at the auction. With South's actual handle double, because he has great defensive values, and now North should be comfortable passing and collecting whatever down 4 is here, 800 for best defense. So I feel okay with that, considering we can't make slam. And if East had bid 4 diamonds, South's probably going to double again. It's a little. Those diamond values aren't lifting in any way, shape, or form as a declaring side, as we might see in a moment, and the same thing happens. This is a little harder if we bid something like, let's say you jump to 4 hearts, which is the worst bid. South will still double, but you have no idea whether you can make 6 or not, because partner's on the same page with you about your spade values. So what this boils down to in general is that it pays to make the most descriptive bid early and at a low level if you can. So 2 spades is the best bid here. Curiously, if the spade suit were the club suit and the opponents were bidding spades, you might be more inclined to go ahead and just get your, bit of evaluation out of the way. So you might just jump the 4 hearts or something if you wanted to do that. And that puts more pressure on the opponents with their higher ranking suit. But so on the hand though, Ace is a misfit and doesn't really like any of his values. He might have a club fit with partner, but if he does, it's not clear. The other thing is that he's outgunned in terms of the values given this auction, and also he has that misfit. So East will probably pass. If you had to bid something here, you would double to show the 4th suit. Some people call this a Snapdragon double. It's essentially a takeout double for whatever the unbid suit is. But let's just say he passes. South has a similar problem. The only difference is now he has to choose whether to bid no trump or spades. And this is a situation that gets kind of difficult because if you look at the South hand, those diamonds aren't going to be lifting much weight unless you play no trump, but we have a roughing value with the club. So, you should always find a way, if you can, to temporize and see if partner can help you out with making this decision. Here, there's no great way to, because you have to either bid 3 clubs on a singleton, which misrepresents your hand by a long shot. You can't bid 2 no trump because partner will pass that sometimes, and you have maximum value. I mean, if you can play 3 no trump, you'd like to. there's no great forcing rebid here that allows you to do both. So what I would probably do is just go ahead and bid 4 spades now, since that's where our 8-card fit is. I would take my chances. And for no other reason, that's what most other people will do. And so I can try to outplay them. And we get back to West, who hasn't heard anything from his partner, but knows that the opponents have a spade fit. I think it's kind of brave to be bidding something like 5 clubs or 4 no trump here. So I wouldn't recommend this. Partner could be sitting on a bunch of defensive values, and bidding 5 clubs would be turning a top board into a bottom board. So we won't do that. And East is going to still be thinking the same thing he thought a round ago and pass. So we end up in 4 spades. And East is on lead, and we have a sort of stopper in hearts, but we figured that the Declare is probably going to be able to rough out around the hearts eventually and then run the rest of them. So that's not really a defensive asset. Our club suit can go either way. Again, we didn't really learn a lot in the bidding about the club suit. We know that partner probably has 5 or 6 diamonds, and since we passed, he might be light, but we would expect 11 or more normally in his hand. So since we're looking at 9, somebody's been in distribution, and it's probably partner. It's either partner or North, because non-vulnerable with a pass hand, partner might just want to throw in a lead director with, say, the king, queen of diamonds, king, queen, 5th of diamonds, nothing else. So I'm inclined to think that that's kind of the situation I'm facing. So there's just no real great lead here. If I lead a heart, Declare's going to pull trumps. If I lead a diamond, I'm relying on partner to have an entry. But the diamond ace is probably the safest lead here. And it's intuitive for most people because they just see the rough, but it's important to consider all 4 suits. Sometimes you'll find in doing this, it's wrong to try for a rough. If for no other reason, because you can't get the partner's hand based on the bidding. But so here, if we sit East, we see dummy. Declare is going to play the 5, and partner's going to play the 7 and the 2. So what is East thinking? Well, East knows that West wasn't bidding diamonds as a lead director because he's looking at the king, jack, and dummy. So that's out of the question. So if partner has an overcall based on values, they're all in clubs and spades. There's no other way. The alternative is that partner has a lot of distribution and was trying to throw in a monkey wrench to either get a sacrifice or help me find a lead that was safe and not necessarily would take a trick. So with that said, a heart lead isn't going to ever do any good here unless North made a 2-spade bid with 4 hearts, and that's unlikely. If North had a double fit, he might even bid further. But also partner probably would have made a different play on the ace of diamonds. If he had a need to lead hearts, he would go ahead and play a high diamond. And this shouldn't be attitude here, given that South has the king, jack, 6 and dummy, and is going to win this trick and lead a trump. There's no hope for diamonds as a suit to lead here. So if that's unclear, tell me, and then we can explain that a little further. But which leads me to the point that the 7 of diamonds actually tells East that West has club values. Again, because it makes more sense for West's first card here to be suit preference, given the fact that there are kind of 2 options here for the defense. We can either get a heart rough or we can get a club trick. So I feel inclined to lead a club. And as to which one I lead, see, partner can see the stiff club and dummy and isn't going to know not to return one. I can't have there's no way I can have a stiff club. So it's just an issue whether partner can find a diamond return with or without my help. I would be inclined to say that he's going to need help, and so I want to lead a low club. Right, this is as low as I can afford, and when partner wins this trick, he should realize that I didn't lead any of my other clubs for a reason and send back a diamond. And that's all the defense is entitled to from here. But, you know, you can see the East doesn't really have a great return. If he leads a club, it gets rough. And, you know, I guess in theory, the best thing to do is hope to lock, declare, and dummy, and, you know, play a high club, but that's, I mean, it won't matter, right? Because, so this is a pretty easy hand. It's just, you know, just because it's an easy hand doesn't mean you should skimp on thinking about the details. So, and again, I want to save all of these so that you can reference them as we go. But okay. I kind of wish there was a way that I could keep this. Let's see, then my dealing program goes out the window. Come on now. See, it doesn't want to do this, which kind of sucks. All I want to do is be able to tell my program how many cards I want to deal. Ah, there we go. Okay, excellent. So I'll just keep that on the bottom. Let's modify this hand just a little bit here. North has 42. And so if you are curious as to getting some of the info here, you should go ahead and click on my table and kibitz. So if you're having trouble with that, just send me something and I'll lead you on the way. But trying to see. Once you get there, we can talk about this hand. I'm just going through, and if you get any questions, you just let me know. But again, I'm not going to be able to communicate effectively unless I see you either on the stream or on the table. So, and you have to be on the table to be able to look at the hands. Otherwise, what I'm saying won't make any sense. Let's see. So my pre-deal, okay. I'm just going to go ahead and scratch this after this hand. Okay, so same thing. So South is a flat hand. This is not a time to open light. If you played a system where you could do this and partner would be on the same page, you know, you would just do it per the nature of your system. But most standard players, there's no reason to think about opening with this. Same goes for West. It's 10, but West hand is especially bad because there's a really bad rebid problem after, say, a diamond to spade, right? Because West can either rebid 2 clubs and play in a 4-3 or a 4-2 minor fit, or rebid a no trip with a singleton, which I don't think that makes sense. There's some people that advocate this simply because it's where you should end up playing anyway, and that's not entirely wrong. It's just that it encourages you to get into a lot of bad no-trump contracts. The main reason, though, is it helps partner in constructive sequences when you're trying to find the right game and slam, and know he's not going to be playing in a 5 or 6-1, spade fit, as would be the case in this auction. But we might talk about that. We might talk about the amount of forcing actually later. I think that's what I'll go ahead and do. So North has 17 points and only 4 losers. So, some people would tell you to open 2 clubs with this hand, but I don't think that's right. And the reason I say this is because even though you have the right loser count, you have a great spade suit, it's really important to figure out what partner has in diamonds here. If partner has, say, king, queen of diamonds, that's 10 tricks by itself. And if, for some reason he has the ace of clubs, you make 6 of spades. So I'd like to be able to open the 1 level and figure out where partner's values are. I don't want to open 2 clubs and, get a control response, whatever, and then be at the 3 or 4 level by the time I need to figure out this information. So I want to open 1 spade. East passes. There really isn't a need for explanation of that. And now we get to talk about jury a little bit. So for those of you who don't play, South has kind of a problem with this hand, right? So normally you would be obligated to bid 3 spades invitational if you're not playing anything else. The problem with this is that sometimes partner opens light and you end up in a bad contract. Coincidentally, if you don't invite with this hand, you'll miss a lot of games. So you can't have this both ways, and so you're stuck. So the solution is to bid 2 clubs here artificially, and what this says is you have 3 or more spades and invitational values. So does that make sense? It's not really the clubs at all. Whether South has clubs here is incidental. It just shows spades and invitational values. And the reason this will work is because North can bid 2 spades and stay low if he wants to, right? You're not at the 3 level now. And that's good for you because if he opens light, then you're not going to get hung. Because it's right to open light. And that's perhaps a question we could venture on here if somebody asks. But for the time being, we're just going to continue with the auction as it is. And North-South will play jury, and North has a couple of options now, right? Because South has shown invitational better values. We could give South the hand we talked about earlier with the ace of clubs and the king, queen of diamonds, and it looks like 6 is pretty close to, cold. So if you're playing jury, this is kind of a funny hand because there are a lot of different ways to go ahead and bid this. You want to do whatever the right thing is to show diamonds. And for me, I bid 2 diamonds to show that I have a normal opener first. Partner will rebid 2 spades. Because he's got 10, but his hand isn't exactly, it's flat, You've got 2 aces, but it's not awesome. So there's no reason to jump here. There's no 4th trump or singleton, for instance. Now I'm going to bid 3 diamonds. And from here, partners should be able to understand that I am trying to assess where his values are, right? Because if I didn't need to know, I could just go ahead and bid Blackwood or bid slam myself or something. I'm trying to make sure that our values are fitting, right? Because the king of diamonds is worth more with the ace as opposed to being without it, is really what it boils down to. And South, who doesn't have any diamond honors and has some aces, kind of feels okay about slam, right? Because he has two controls I'm probably looking for. But his diamond holding here is awful. I mean, there's just no way that that's any help. So, it's probably okay for South to bid 4 spades now and just say, I'm minimum, I don't like what I'm seeing, But it would also be acceptable for South to bid 3 hearts as a Q bid, And it should be interpreted as such because South could have bid 2 hearts earlier to show the heart suit in the better hand, right? So the Q bid interpretation should be pretty natural here. North hears this, he knows the diamond problem and has to consider whether it makes sense to go further, right? Because South has a heart control that's great, but are there hands that South can have where he can still make slams? So if you're cheating and you're looking at both hands here, slam doesn't look terrible, right? There's 6, 8, 10 top tricks, and on a non-trump lead, you'd be fine to rough 2 diamonds and dummy, right? But you're probably going to get a trump lead. That's not really the point. The point is that North has to consider this, knowing that South doesn't have something resembling like the king of diamonds or so, because otherwise South might just, bid 4 diamonds or jump in diamonds to do this. So, North should go ahead and bid 4 clubs and just keep Q bidding, and just to see if he can learn anything from South. The alternative would be to bid 3 spades and get South to show a club control, which isn't a terrible idea. And South has shown his heart, but can't show his club, and doesn't have a stiff diamond, should probably just bid 4 spades. And again, South went ahead to make the Q bid, so North should know he's kind of on maximal values here, but didn't have diamond help. If South had diamond help, he would probably have Q bid diamonds now for sure, and probably would have said something about those earlier. But ultimately, South never bid 4 spades for the past, round of bidding, so he's not a dead minimum. And that might encourage North to do something like this and bid 5 clubs now. And then South has another tough problem because this bidding isn't easy. North doesn't really seem to care a whole lot about South's diamond situation now because actually, he shouldn't bid 4 clubs. He already showed the control. North should go ahead and bid. Just ask for key cards, I guess. And you'll get the 6 spades, but you won't be thrilled about it. And East will lead a trump. And North's bidding this with the idea that South probably has. South can't have 3 small. If South had 3 small, that'd be worse than this holding here. But South doesn't have a singleton. I guess South could have a singleton here, singleton or a doubleton, same lines. So on the lead of the spade, the player's going to adopt the line we sort of hinted at earlier because we can count 6, 7, 8, 10 top tricks, right? 6 spades, a heart, a diamond, and the ace-king of clubs. So when we look at this hand to figure out where our extra 2 tricks are coming from, we can evaluate our options, right? So most beginners will see the heart finesse immediately. And that's not terrible, but it's only a 50% chance. So we'd like to do a little bit better than that. One thing we could do is try to rough out king third of hearts, but that's less likely than the finesse. The option that will end up being the right solution will be to duck around the diamonds and plan on roughing two small diamonds and dummy. And this works whenever diamonds are 4-3 or when they're 5-2 and East only has one trump. So, in clubs, I mean, in theory, you could go ahead and drop the queen jack or, drop a step on, but there's no great way to set up this suit. So, and since we got a trump lead, we get to see how spades break early, and they probably break fairly reasonably. You can't tell whether 2-2 or 3-1, obviously, but we knew even before we saw 4 cards, East probably isn't going to lead a trump from 4 small. So go ahead and duck a diamond. And I'm going to see if anybody noticed what the defense has done wrong already. And then we can get over to dummy with ace in the rough and we're good. So again, when you see it play out with all 4 hands, it's pretty straightforward, but it pays to go through the motions and think about each of the steps. For those of you that didn't catch on to the thing the defense could have done differently here, when we let a diamond, East should have went up and tried to stop our plan by continuing a spade. Right, because now it can't rough 2 diamonds and dummy. We can only rough 1. And at this point, we would have to, it looks like, rely on a squeeze. Right? It's kind of sophisticated. This actually is a kind of an interesting hand because right now West is already squeezed, right? Because let's say West pitches a diamond, right? Whoop. Just go ahead. No. We can rough out the diamonds. Right, and then we get back to declare his hand with the heart rough and the hands up. If instead West pitches a heart, this requires a little bit of guessing on declarer's part. But now it looks like the right thing to do is go ahead and try to rough out the heart suit. Although this will really only work if Yeah. See, this is sort of double dummy because the only way that this is working is because East has the other trump. But that's what you have to hope for anyway, because if you're stuck in this position, I mean, that's all you got, right? So you should feel confident leading a diamond over and cashing a heart, hoping it holds. Okay, it really is an interesting hand. And so finally, if West pitches a club, clubs are 3-3, so you can go ahead and rough out a club. Right now, the club and dummy will take care of your last loser, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And I think you're still relying on the same principles earlier where maybe not. I guess I'm mistaken. So what? Man, it's a hard hand. West gets caught in a squeeze after you rough out the clubs, regardless, right? And the trouble, of course, is that now you have to guess West's honor, because in this position, East could have the king, or West could, and it's not very clear which way it is. And the way that they've discarded this ending might give you a hint, but in general, you can't really read most opponents here because they would have to discard to, the stiff whatever on the West hand, 2 hearts to the East. Had East. I suppose if East had not held on those hearts, if he even had the chance, I mean, he's been following suit the whole time, so there's just no real clear inference. But I'm definitely keeping this hand only because it's one of those that you never see very often. And so we'll just continue with random hands for now. Excuse me. Okay, so West is one of those hands where some of these kids that are playing would go ahead and preempt, and that's very wrong. The vulnerability is wrong. You don't have a 7th club. The ace of diamonds is defensive. There's no great reason to be preempting here. It looks tempting, but it's just not worth it. And the other small downside is if partner has 5 spades, you will rarely get to their you'll rarely get to your spade fit. So we're going to go ahead and pass. North opens 1 spade. Some people think it's right to open 3 spades on this or 2 spades. The only reason that you would is if your preempting style was, I would call it outdated, but conservative is perhaps the better word. And the reason I don't like this is because North has 6 tricks. And if you open 2 spades, what'll happen is partner will have to, learn that you have the solid suit. And if I open 1 spade, that's just an opening hand. I feel a lot more comfortable now, right? Because I don't have any rebid issues. I'm not going to miss out on the 5-3 heart fit. And partner has like invitationalist values. So I really like opening one spade, regardless of what preempting style I'm using. East overcalls. Well, see, East has a problem here to double or to overcall. And it's like any other bid. And generally, what you want to do is just put yourself in the opponent's shoes and think about what are they probably going to bid. If East bids 2 diamonds, he should expect South to make some kind of a spade raise, because East has a singleton spade and he doesn't have a lot of values in the majors. So East should expect to bid like this or like this on a bad day. You might see this, but you shouldn't really expect a whole lot else. Again, because East has really good diamonds and clubs, there's only so many cards left in the other suits for the players to have. So, do you feel comfortable after an auction like this? You kind of do, right? Now you can double, which is okay, or bid 3 diamonds, which is a little bit of an underbid. I want to go ahead, though, and double with this. And the reason I'm doing this is I have 5 losers, and if South bids 3 spades, I'm more likely to get West in the picture with 5 hearts and get them my heart fit. If South does bid 3 spades and West doesn't have this thing that's passed around to me, I guess I'm stuck either doubling or bidding 4 diamonds. I'm probably going to double because 4 diamonds keeps me out of 3 no trump, which partner might have the values for. But today, South will bid either 2 spades or 1 no trump. And South's definitely bidding 2 spades. The hand almost evaluates to an invitational 3-card raise, and absent the double, 1 no trump would be forcing or semi-forcing, and you would perhaps invite, but South's probably better off just showing his fit here. We could talk about tactics, and maybe it's right to bid 2 hearts if South thinks that he's not going to play this hand, but since East double only promises an opening bid, it's not very clear whose hand it is. As South, I would think that it's mine, and I would probably bid 2 spades, planning on partner to play it there or invite the game, which I'm going to accept. And now West is going to bid 3 clubs. West is going to bid 4 clubs because it, keeps you out of 3 no trump in all shapes and forms. But also the hand just isn't quite worth a 4 club bid. I mean, you have 6 clubs, but you're flat. And that's something that you'll see a lot as far as your hand evaluation goes. A lot of people overvalue flat hands, especially beginners who count points, right? So you can have a 10-point hand that's flat, and it's just not worth very much. And so they'll overbid and they'll go down. They'll wonder, well, why the hell did we go down? And it's just the fact that you overvalued your hand. Especially when it comes to playing trump contracts, shape really does have a big influence. And if you don't believe me, you can think about the times that you've played in game or slam, and you have the same number of cards in each suit in the 2 hands. There's just not a lot to work with. So keep that in mind as you bid in the future. And so North is going to make a cool bid here, which you need agreement on this as a partnership. It's 3 spades. So what does 3 spades do? The short answer is it puts North-South in their best contract, and it keeps East-West out of theirs. The way you get to this is through the law of total tricks, which if you're new to this concept, perhaps the best way to illustrate it is as follows. So if we look, let's just undo this auction for a second. Just look at the North-South hands, right? North-South's best fit is their 9-card spade fit, right? And East-West have an 8-card fit, a 9-card fit in clubs. So the law of total tricks tells you that the total number of tricks on this deal is going to be 18 tricks, which is the sum of both sides' best fit. What that means is if North-South can take 9 tricks in their best suit, East-West can also take 9 tricks in their best suit. It's a pretty good approximation as far as part scores, but this hand is an example where you might start to see deviations from that. And what I see here, looking at both hands, is that each side has a double fit. Both sides have, 2 8-card fits, and their values are also really concentrated in those suits. So while the law of total tricks would tell me that North-South should make, 4 spades, and East-West should make, down 3 and 5 diamonds doubled or something like that, we can actually add about 2 and maybe even 3 tricks just for the purity of the suits and the double fits. So it really is going to be a wild hand, assuming that everybody's kind of on the same page about where those values are. But sometimes it's not very clear. Right? So for instance, if we get the East position, East doesn't know where any of the heart values are. He knows that West doesn't have 4. That's really about all that's clear. And he doesn't know whether 3 no-trump's going to make or not. So East's best bid is going to be double. Because if you can't play 3 no-trump, it's the only time you want to back into this diamond suit. You might argue that if North-South have 9 spades here, which they should, given South's raise showing 3 and North's 3 spade bid, which if you follow the law of total tricks shows 6. West is marked for having only 3 spades and might have done something earlier, like a 2 no-trump with the king of spades, but I don't know if it's all that clear. And I can always bid diamonds later. And now is the critical moment because South can bid 4 hearts, which reveals to everyone the nature of the double fit for both sides. Or he can bid 4 spades. And no matter what South does, everybody kind of knows that it's a distributional hand, but if South bids 4 hearts, it'll clue partner and the opponents into where the heart values are and where the diamond values are. So if I'm sitting South, I don't feel great about defending. It just depends on what partner's heart holding is. And that's why I'm bidding 4 hearts. Because ultimately, I just want to make our partnership make the best decisions. And if the opponents do something right, that's great. But this isn't a time where I would, try to be a deep thinker and keep the opponents out. So. And as it happens, West is left with an impossible bid because it looks like the opponents have a great spade fit and South has heart values. East somehow has a hand willing to try for 3 no-trump. Clearly doesn't have any more than 1 spade. East probably has a hand like he has. The only difference is that he might have, 1 less diamond or 1 more club. And East might have the king of hearts too, or the queen of hearts that you don't know. You don't expect that for South's bid, but what this is leading to is that West might, try something along the lines of 5 clubs would be the most basic bid here, because West expects to have a club fit, and if partner has diamonds, he can bid diamonds. If he has that big, I wanted to play no-trump hand, he probably is balanced and has the club fit needed. But the point here is that North-South have extreme distribution, and West can kind of visualize East's hand and should go ahead and take a lead. The other bid West might try is for no-trump, which shouldn't be Blackwood here. Neither neither partner has made any clear move towards slam. And the real key bit is West's 3 clubs, which, is just competitive. West is going to won't usually suddenly have slam interest. And if he did, he's probably better off just bidding 6 clubs and seeing if the opponents will mess up. So let's say he bids 5 clubs. When we reach the 5 level, and with this hand, it's really tricky because, again, we have 2 sides with 2 suits each. And, the bidding's going to get to the 5 level. It might even progress further. But North's kind of already set his hand. Doesn't really have defense against 5 clubs doubled, though. But, aside from the spades and that's all the tricks he has. He doesn't really have any great roughing value. Unless partner shows up with a control on one of the minors and can rough those, it just doesn't look great. So most pairs have the agreement here that pass asks partner to make a decision and double shows defensive values. So with this hand, if I'm sitting North, I want to scratch my head for about 2 minutes. And, do I want to encourage partner to play 5 spades or not? And I would probably double because I've said my hand. I don't like having 3 hearts on this auction because I know that we have a double fit, and I know that probably means we don't have a whole bunch of defense given our major suits. But there's no other bid for this hand. That doesn't risk partner doing something crazy wrong. And so East will pass, content that he's playing in 5 clubs doubled possibly, and South is kind of the same problem that North did, right? So can we take 3 tricks, or do we play 5 of a major double down how many? And I would pass on the rationale that I just don't think that there's any way we're making 5 of a major, especially after partners double, because that implies that he doesn't have any roughing value in the minor suits, which are the opponent's suits. And that's why we doubled as North ultimately, is because we didn't have a roughing value. So we're playing 5 clubs doubled. And North leads the ace of spades. And from here, the defense is pretty simple. But as a matter of technique, 2 things I want to point out. One, North leads the ace of spades and asks for attitude. If North wanted to know about count, he would lead the king. But here he doesn't really care a whole lot because he knows he's probably going to get a count when dummy hits. And dummy's marked for a singleton or avoiding spades. So it's not like you're going to keep leading spades. The best lead is the ace, which asks for attitude. And South should know whether to signal for either hearts or diamonds. You're not really planning on leading a diamond here, given the auction, but it's good technique, and South might surprise you with like the diamond ace or something, or a void. You don't know. So South should not play the 10. He should play this one. So South plays a 10, which signals the higher suit, which is hearts. And now North leads a 2 of hearts. This is a length lead. Since you're in suits, you should be playing 3rd and 5th leads, which, as this example shows, you get a better inference immediately how many hearts North has. So South can win and know to cash another heart. And after this, the hand is over. But so, and this is one of the more exciting deals, mainly because we have a lot of shape on both sides. It makes the bidding judgment kind of hard. But the key takeaway here isn't really in the bidding as much as just in the play of the hand. because this auction could have gone a number of different ways. You know, as we saw the different possibilities. It's a hand where if you're playing in match points, you're just not going to have any normal result because, you know, some people follow the law and some people don't, and some people know the law and you know, their decisions a little more educated, but there's still, it's not like there's always a wrong bid. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go to the next hand. I want to scrap the dealer input I have going. Okay. So North deals. For those of you who don't know, I like to open all 11 counts. And I have pretty good reasons for doing so, but the main reason is that if I get a bid in now, I can shut up later. That's the best way to explain it. So perhaps this example will show you what I can do. I want to open a diamond. And now East has to overcall some number of hearts, just a question of how many. We're too strong for preempt. And I think this hand is too flat and too short of tricks for 4 hearts. And we have the defensive king of diamonds, which won't help our play in 4 hearts. So we're just going to overcall 1 and see what happens. This house should bid a spade. The distribution makes up for lack of high card points. He has a safe exit of diamonds in the event that something bad happens to 1 spade, which it never does. People don't double at the 1 level very often. And on value in terms of distribution, this hand's worth a lot. Again, I mean, you can see with both hands that 4th trump is like an extra trick or 2. Not that North South should ever end up in diamonds on this hand, but just more out of principle that, you know, we don't have cards in their suit and we have extra cards in partner suit. That's a good thing. So, and the other nice thing is we look at West's bid here is we put West in a bit of a rough spot because West's got a 15 count and 3 people have been bidding. So first of all, who should West trust, right? Because partner's non-vulnerable and might be making an overcall with, say, ace, king, 5th and nothing else. Or he could have the hand that he has. West doesn't know. So you know, and the real trouble for Wes is he can't figure out everything he needs before the 3 level. You know, which, you know, it will probably be okay because if he shows up with a minimum, it's probably right to stay at the 2 level. You know, and some of you might think, well, should this hand play no trump? Well, not necessarily. We don't have a great diamond stopper, although we have spade stopped. And while partner might show up with a diamond card, if we need to find that out, we'll find it out whenever he shows us if he has a minimum or not. I would not want to play 3 no trump if partner has something like, you know, ace, 5th of hearts, the king, 4th of diamonds, and, you know, if he has the king of clubs, his hand's pretty good, and they'll bid something else. But I suppose it could, you know, that actual hand is okay, but on a diamond lead, it's just, you know, and you know all the values are in the north, and that spade fest is probably offside, so that's kind of a bad asset. It's still right at the cube. It's just a question of what you expect partner to do and what you're going to do after that. Which the other thing you could do, although it would sort of misadvertise your hand, would be the double, which shows clubs. It's that Snapdragon double we mentioned a couple hands ago. And after that, you could consider bidding something else, but then you always miss out on your heart fit. There's no great way to get partner to catch up. So I would go ahead and bid 2 diamonds, which is what everybody else will bid, and just see what partner says. Right, North is going to think about bidding 2 spades and may not do so given the vulnerability and the flat shape of his hand. The other small disadvantage to bidding 2 spades is that you're in a good position to be doubled if East has a minimum hand and West has a little bit better than extra. But let's just say you jump out on one and bid 2 spades, because that's what the law would tell you, in theory. East is going to make a 3 heart bid, which has a little bit extra competitive value, extra length in hearts. East isn't going to do this on junk because he could have passed and then bid. So East 3 hearts is what you might say is a real bid, right? We expect East to have just short of accepting a game invite, right? And really, since East is 7 hearts, you might just jump to 4 hearts now. The only reason why you might not is if you didn't like the double spade and double club. So, again, it's a judgment thing, but 3 hearts is probably a good compromise, right? Because you have 7 tricks. The Diamond King is like another half trick. If partner has, if partner has some finessable position spades, you could set up a spade trick and pitch your club, or partner could have the ace king of clubs and cover your doubleton, or he might have the ace of diamonds, although it's a little unlikely. So 3 hearts is a good bid, though. And West is going to, be very surprised and raise the 4 because he thinks the opponents are bidding on garbage. But that tells you a little bit about the distribution. And that's kind of important to notice. Whenever something looks strange, you actually have more information available to you than if things look normal. And that's simply because there's only so many strange things out there, right? If West had a weaker hand, South could have any number of permutations. We could have 5 points, he could have 9 points, and it'd be a little more difficult to judge what to do. So let's see, what do I want West to do? South's on lead. So thinking about defenses South, we know the partner has 3 spades, at least. He could have 4. We know that the opponents probably have 9 hearts, and leaves partner with at most 3 hearts. And North has to have 4 diamonds because we would only have 3 if he's 4, 4, 3, 2. So partner's hand is something like 3, 3, 4, 3 or 3, 2, 4, 4 on average. It could be 3, 2, 5, 3 or something like that. But that's approximately what his hand is. And I'm doing this just so that I can gauge the distribution of all 4 hands, as well as where my tricks might come from. Because I don't really expect to get a ruff in partner's hand. I don't really expect the forcing defense to work very well because we don't have enough trumps to make that worthwhile. If partner had, say, 4 trumps, I might consider it more, but that's not the case here. So it's just a question of where tricks are coming from. I can lead a diamond, which will be safe-ish if partner has the jack 10 or the king, king jack. It'll probably set up a trick if he just has one honor. There's a little danger in giving up a finessing position or leading into a broken suit. The alternative would be to lead a spade, which has similar problems, but the difference is I don't really have any backups to set up a trick for us in my hand. So I would go ahead and lead a diamond and lead the 3 to show count. And now, we see dummy and we count our points. Dummy's got 16, we have 2. So that means there is 22 points left for the opponents. Partner's going to have at least 11 of those. And so, we can sort of scale up so they could be divided 11-11 or 12-10 or 13-9. And we would expect East to be within that 9-11 range, just given this free 3-heart bid. It would be unusual for East to bid 3 hearts with any less. So Partner's in that minimum balanced hand range, and East probably is too. So, with this in mind, Declare doesn't have to think too hard in this first play. Because Declare's line here, he can see 7 hearts, 2 aces, and the King of Diamonds is going to get promoted here in a second based on the diamond lead. So there's no worries there. And Declare is sort of backseat counting the points to see if one of those black suit finesses is either onside or if he can end play north. But North is looking at this trick and wondering where their tricks are going to come from, because North knows that both of his kings are offside for Declare. So that's good and it's bad. It's good because those could both be tricks, provided that the bad thing is North might be forced to lead away from one of those kings. If you're kind of advancing and reading about end plays, this is a typical position where, as a defender, you should sort of suspect that Declare might be thinking about end playing you. This is in part because your values are marked based on the bidding, but also you have all those honors offside. That's really what's key. Is sometimes you can have too much in terms of the defense of your hand, and this is one of those times because there's 2 key suits that East is going to be developing here, because your side has diamonds. Declare is not going to touch those, and hearts are trumps. So Declare should have those taken care of. So you should be wondering at trick 1 how you get out of an end play. And here you can't really, because you're not going to get partner in to lead one of those suits now, and given the bidding, it would be unlikely that partner has an entry in hearts, but he might have the King of Diamonds and be leading away from that, and that's probably your only hope. So you win, and you return a diamond. If you want to get into a technical discussion about whether this is suit preference or count, it doesn't really matter in this hand. I think that suit preference probably makes more sense, especially considering that partner's not going to be thinking about cashing a 3rd diamond anytime soon. Okay, so Declare wins, and your only hope was kind of out. So if we step back into Declare's seat for a second, and Declare wants to take advantage of this end play line, although he doesn't really need it on this hand, because Declare is just going to go ahead and draw trumps. And South is going to pitch a discouraging spade. Which this doesn't really do a whole lot of the only reason you would pitch a discouraging spade as opposed to something else is because if North got in again, he should know that you don't have the spade king in the event that North, who's looking at the spade king here now, didn't have it. So, but again, once you think about the defense, everything's kind of an open book. And so now East has to remember whether to lead the Jack of Spades or the Seven of Spades. And in theory, it doesn't really matter here because if the finesse loses, North gets end played, and if the finesse holds, then we don't have to worry about a spade loser. It's slightly better, though, in the event that North didn't have the king of spades to lead the jack, because a lot of beginners won't cover. And so you're able to promote even another extra trick there that way. But on the hand, North wins, and just there's no hope. So. East passes. There's much to say there. So is South. And that West is in third seat and has normal opening values. If you wouldn't open this hand, I will encourage you to, because you have 6-4 distribution, you have 11 points, you have a great diamond suit, and you don't have a rebit problem. And that's all I'll say on that. So West should open a diamond, not a spade. And while a spade would take up more room, it leaves West with an impossible, in terms of accuracy, rebit problem. If West rebit diamonds, East is almost always going to correct the spades. That's not what West wants. It's better to be constructive here and bid a diamond and plan on showing both suits, even if it does mean that North-South will get their heart fit in. And here, North has a funny problem, because North shouldn't be doubling without a third heart, and North doesn't feel great about overcalling a no trump. Although that's probably his best choice, because the alternative is 2 clubs, and that's bad for a couple reasons. So I would probably try a no trump here. I don't know if that's really the best bid, but it just seems to be the least of evils. East will pass. And just a word about this. So when you are in a situation where the partner opens and North overcalls a no trump, you're only ever going to be raising partner with some kind of distribution. I see people raise like to 2 diamonds with this hand, and I don't think that's right. Because sure, you got 6 points, but what do you really have to offer partner in terms of play? Because partner could have a flat hand here. Partner could be making a lead directing opening. There's a lot of good reasons not to bid here. And you're vulnerable, which is more of a coincidence than anything. But and that being said, there are actually conventional methods here that emphasize showing distributional hands, like 2 suitors. And we won't talk about those today unless you're curious. But East has a clear pass. And now South would like to know whether he has a heart fit, but can't risk doing so without the possibility of playing in a bad spade fit or a possibly bad club fit. And given that partner is overcalling a no trump and not opening it, I would tend to pass with this hand, mainly because partner will have these diamonds, which I don't like. The 7-3 diamonds is pretty bad. So, and West might think about betting 2 diamonds here.
and that would be purely based on distribution. There's no real great reason to vulnerable. Partner hasn't really shown a whole lot. And again, if you just think about the play of the hand here for a second before you bid, if partner doesn't have a bunch in these key suits like spades, your hand is worthless, and the defense will know over you. Nor should actually have a bunch of diamonds behind you, and the defense might find the forcing defense in clubs and take control of the hand. So these are all reasons that you don't want to bid here. A lot of those reasons over time you build them with experience, and you see patterns that emerge, and you kind of know in a situation here. But if you don't know a whole lot, just know that with West's hand, your minimum, and partner didn't say a whole lot, and the opponent's bidding doesn't encourage you to bid further, right? Because if North had overcalled, say, 2 clubs, now your hand looks good because you don't have any values in clubs. You could re-open with a double or re-open with 2 diamonds. But we're going to pass. And East is on lead. We probably, these decisions are hard because you don't want to necessarily lead a heart, because a partner might not have any supporting honors in it, but also your entries of the King of Spades and the King of Diamonds aren't always going to be entries. So you wouldn't be leading a heart to set up the suit as much as being passive. And so your alternatives are the other 3. And I would probably just lead a diamond. Partners open it for some reason, right? Some people don't like leading partner suit because North's overcalled a no trump that promises a stopper, but and while that's true, it's usually still right to lead partner suit only because it's usually your side's best combined fit, so to speak. Because if West doesn't have honors and diamonds, he will probably have length. And if he doesn't have both, then, it just happens. That's the trouble with minor suit openings. You get stuck sometimes. So when you decide on a diamond lead, it's just a question of which one. And this is where you just have to think about some of the diamond layouts that might occur. You can see double dummy that it's not going to matter what East leads. And the low lead is going to look right on average because North should probably have like 3-ish diamonds. And so it's probably not right for East to lead the King just because it gives up a possible situation where West could lead through North's honors. That's not going to happen a whole lot, but essentially what you're doing by not leading the King is not beating it on air. Because let's say you lead the King, right? You're always going to collect small cards like that. And on this hand, again, it doesn't matter, but if North had the ace, you'd look like a fool. And even worse, if South had the ace and North had the queen alone, you would be giving them up a free trick. So you lead low. And West doesn't really have a whole lot to think about here because the 6 can't be from shortness. He's looking at the 5, 4, 3, 2 in his hand. So East, unless East is leading, I guess his only diamond. And that would mean that he has 2 other cards floating around somewhere in the other suits. It's possible, I guess. But otherwise, East has 3, and it's right to pop up with the ace of diamonds now. So, and again, we're thinking about this because, it looks intuitive to rise with the ace. You may decide to put in, say, the 10 and hope that North has to lead from his hand later. If you look at dummy, you know that if North has to do that, it's not going to matter. Right, because North's going to get over the dummy to set up clubs eventually anyway, and you can't stop that. Partner might be able to, but then partner ends up with the same problem of knowing what to return. So it looks right to win the ace of diamonds just based off of that reasoning alone. Now, if you were to count points and stuff, which you should, you have 11, and Overcaller has at least 15. So that's, let's see, 26, and then Dummy is 33. So partner has like 7 to 5 points. And again, there's really not a whole lot partner can offer us except for maybe in spades. And he could have the ace king of hearts, but he probably would have led the suit then. And so those are all reasons to sort of start thinking about winning the ace of diamonds and then returning a diamond. And ace doesn't have a problem with the return here because if he starts to switch another suit now, A, gives up the timing in diamonds if it's a suit that's right to set up. B, East doesn't have any clear indication that West wants another suit returned because West led the jack, which looks like he's trying to promote the suit. East could also count the hand and realize that partner's probably minimum, and so having played the ace jack of diamonds, if West really wanted to establish another suit, he probably would have switched to it now, hoping that East had those values, right? Because let's say West had, the ace, jack, 10 of spades. He would have switched to spade now and not given us the problem of having to lead it from our side. So we continue with diamond, and on the hand, the declarer is going to be kind of upset because the defense takes 4 more diamonds and 2 spades for down 2. But that's kind of the risk that North took with his bid and South with his. So, and again, you might criticize the 1-no trip overcall, but on a different hand, it could have led to different problems, right? Because let's say North overcalled 2 clubs, that might have been passed out or something, and something bad could happen there. So we'll take a quick break and see if anybody has any questions. Allow me to see who's calling. Hey, how you doing?
well, let's see. We'll